Hello, everybody. Welcome to From the Gridiron to the Pitch. A few weeks ago, Wesley and I predicted the Premier League season. You can find the episode where we did so on Spotify. Anyway, the season kicks off in just a few hours, actually, with Liverpool versus Bournemouth. And I am here to give my full table prediction. In the episode, we did who was going to win, who we thought was going to finish top four, and who we thought was going down. Now, my prediction has changed a little bit. And so we're going to see who do I think is going to finish last? Who's going to win the whole thing? And let's see how many fan bases I can make mad today. We're just going to go, last to first. I'm just going to come out and say it. My last place team is going to be Burnley. I think it's always tough being the relegated team coming up and being a mainstay in the league. And I just don't think Burnley has it. I think that they are definitely going to struggle. And yeah, I just think they're going to go back down. I think that gap is there. Which brings us straight into our second team. And Leeds are going to be finishing 19th. Similar to Burnley, where, straight up, straight back down. Leeds are going to be a yo-yo. And I don't know. I think, again, it's just that the quality and that gap between the Premier League and the Championship, it's there. So yeah, I don't know. I think Leeds are definitely. I don't know. I just don't think that really both of them are gonna stay up. Now we get into probably the big first surprise of the list. My 18th place team, I think, just barely getting relegated. Wolverhampton Wanderers. They have been on the cusp of relegation for the past few years. And I don't know. I think this is it. I think this is really their dip. I think that this is where, things go south and they finally get the drop. I think it is going to be very close. I think, it's going to be by, 1 or 2 points. It's going to come down right to the end with the team that I think a lot of people are actually pretty high on this year. But still a lot are saying are going to get the drop. I'm picking Sunderland to just barely survive. They've brought in Mark Guéhi, Granit Xhaka, they brought in Mark Guéhi, Granit Xhaka, and I don't know. I think that they've brought in experience, and they've brought in talent, and I think that they could do it. I think that they could stay up, and I mean we saw it 2 years ago with Luton, barely dropped, barely got relegated. Ipswich, it was less of a barely, but still they finished the best out of the three that came up. And I think Sunderland, I think they're going to do the same thing. And I think they're going to barely avoid relegation. I made this call 2 years ago with Luton. They got relegated. Sunderland, they're going to stay up. Finishing in 16th for me, West Ham United. Again, a team similar to Wolves. I think a lot of people are, I wouldn't say super high on West Ham, but I don't know. I think, again, they're sort of there. And I don't really know what they're doing. To be fair, they have made some good signings. Jean-Claire Todibo is a dog. I mean, he was gonna go to United. Things kind of fell apart with that whole Ineos ownership. That was with United, right? I don't even know. But I don't know. I think losing Kudus is gonna be a massive, massive miss for them. Um, and I don't really know. I think that they're finally going down. So yeah, that's who I have finishing 16th. On to place 15, I am taking the Toffees, Everton. Um, I think I think it's similar to Wolves and West Ham. I think they're just one of those teams that's they're like almost a bubble team. Um, but I think Everton have made some absolutely phenomenal moves this offseason. Um, I mean, Tierno Barry, I got him in my prem team, my fantasy prem team. I hope he balls out. Mark Travers, was phenomenal with Bournemouth last season. I know he's had some issues this season in the preseason, but that's okay. Kieran Dewsbury Hall, he played for Chelsea. But the one that I'm the most excited about is Jack Grealish. Um, I said this when it happened. It gives me Grealish at Villa vibes. I think he's gonna go to Everton. He's gonna ball out, and or he's gonna be a complete disaster like half the players that have gone to Everton. But I think he's gonna do very well. Oops. On to number 14. I am taking Brentford. Um, I don't even know what's happening at Brentford anymore. Um, I know a lot of people are actually picking them lower. I mean, I feel like a lot of people are picking them in that about 16, 17 range. Um, I am a bit higher on Brentford. I know in our podcast episode, I'm already going off of what I had said. Um, I had Sunderland going down, Brentford barely staying up. Some things later will change, but um, I don't know. I just think um, I love the Koheim Kelleher signing. Kelleher, I mean, I'm biased, whatever. I mean, he was probably one of the best backups in the whole league. Um, but you can't talk about Brentford without stating the obvious. Brian Mbuemo, gone. Christian Norgard, gone. Thomas Frank, gone. Johan Vissa, almost gone. Um, so I think, you know, it's definitely going to be a drop off for Brentford, especially from the success that they've been having. Um, finishing 10th last season, I think they are going to regress a little bit, but I think they're going to be following that same path that they've been on since they got to the Prem, 13th, 9th, 16th, 10th. And I think they're going to regress a little bit. But yeah, Brentford finishing 14th. To round out this lower mid-table section, I am going to take Crystal Palace. I know that they just won the Community Shield, but there is a lot of turmoil happening right there. And they got the whole curse, the Community Shield curse. It's real. But I think it's gonna be sketchy for Palace, especially now with Mark Gahey on his way out of the club. It's looking like going to Liverpool. And I don't know. I think it could be dark times for Palace next season. In the Conference League now, I think they're going to be very angry about that, and I think trying to find the split between Conference League and Champions League definitely going to be difficult. Okay, sorry. My dogs are barking at each other because they want to lay in the hall. If you hear dogs barking, that's what it is. See? Right there. Anyway, on to my number 12. I am taking another team that had a very successful season. I am taking Nottingham Forest. Again, I think it's going to be similar to Palace. I think that they are going to have to split time between again, I think it's going to be very similar to Palace. I think that they're going to have to split time between the Prem and Europe. I think it's going to be very draining on them, and um, I don't really know. The only things that they've done are sign a bunch of players from Botafogo, which, to be fair, with Forest's track record of signing players, they're probably going to be world class. Um, but I don't know. I think I just think Forest they're gonna take a little regression here. Um and I think they're definitely going to struggle in comparison to last season. Which, I mean, that is nothing against Forest. I think this season's definitely gonna be a lot more competitive, especially about the top. Um so yeah, Forest finishing 12th. At number 11, I am going to take Bournemouth. Um, Again, I think that magic that we saw last season from from Bournemouth, Forest, Brighton, even um, you could say Palace. I think it is definitely going to wear off a little bit. Forest, we saw it at the end of last season. But Bournemouth, they got absolutely raided. Mark Travers is gone, like we talked about earlier. Um, Ilya Zambarny just went to PSG. Dean Howson went to Real Madrid. Milos Kerkez to Liverpool. So Bournemouth, I mean, they got raided. Um, and that is, you don't like to see that. And which I guess Mark Travers didn't even really play. It was Neto, wasn't it? Oh well. Um. Anyway. Um. But yeah, I think, and like, they brought in Diakite. Petrovic is not. Diakite and Petrovic are actually not really that bad of replacements. Just, I think it's definitely Bournemouth are definitely going to struggle a lot more than they did last season. Um, which really nothing against Bournemouth. It's just, they got they took the money, and so I think Bournemouth are gonna have a little bit of a regression. Next up, finishing in P10, I'm taking two teams, Brighton and Hove Albion. Um, Brighton are very interesting to me. Obviously they lost Joao Pedro. Um, but really not much else. Estupinian is not a good loss for them. Adingra, I don't think he really got much, which again, another absolute baller for Sunderland. Um, so it'll be interesting to see how he does there. But yeah, Joao Pedro, the big loss, alongside Pervis Estupinian. Um, and I don't know. And again, with Brighton, it's like I said, it's very interesting with them because you have Fabian Hurstler, which when he came into Brighton, everybody was like, okay, Brighton, they're going to be genuine Europa League, Champions League contenders. And I feel like that hype stayed for about, 2 months and then dipped. Fabian Hurstler was a magician with FC St. Pauli. So it'll be interesting to see what year two under Fabian Hurstler looks like. But I'm taking Brighton to dip just one place compared to last season. But yeah, finishing number 9, I am taking Fulham. Um, Again, interesting team, Fulham are. This whole lower mid table section, it's so weird. Like genuinely, all of these teams could be wrong, and I'm okay with that. Um, but Fulham, again, they confused me, but they had such a phenomenal preseason, beating Forest, beating Al Ittihad, beating Frankfurt. I don't know. I just really like their preseason. And there's something that's happening at Fulham. I don't know what it is. They're not, they're not signing anybody, but they're not selling anybody. And I think that's the big thing for Fulham. Um, and like they have a solid team. They have a team that on their day they could beat. They can be very difficult. I think if they get that attack figured out, um, they're still trying to have to rely on Raul Jimenez for goals. I don't think Rodrigo Muniz was who they really needed him to be last season. Um, yeah, 31 matches, 8 goals. He only started 8, but I think that team they really lack a big goal scorer. So it'll be interesting. Um, and I don't know. I think Fulham could definitely jump up a little bit. In 8th place, I am taking Newcastle United to round out the mid-table. Newcastle, I don't know what's happening there anymore. Genuinely, they they are getting screwed, but they're getting screwed by themselves. Um, I think nobody wants to sign for them. Obviously, they have Johan Vissa that's potentially interested. Nico Jackson. Don't really know who else they're going after anymore. Isak wants out. Tino Livramento wants out. So, and I think the Isak situation could lead to a very toxic dressing room for Newcastle. Um, so that's not good to see. But not to say that they haven't made solid transfers. Anthony Elanga was incredible for Newcastle, or not for Newcastle, for Forest last season. And now Forest, that's another big player that they've lost. Um, and Malik Thiaw, very promising center back. But they've signed Aaron Ramsdale. He has a track record. Which again, that's the issue. That's the worrying part for Newcastle. Nick Pope was shocking in preseason, and Aaron Ramsdale, half the time he's not there mentally. So, who knows what goalkeeping you're gonna have on a day-to-day basis for Newcastle. So, I am taking them to finish 8th. In 7th, I am going Manchester United. I really don't like this pick, quite honestly. In fact, I don't like it so much, I'm changing things around. We are moving on the fly here. Man U, they have made good signings, yes, I'll give them that. But then again, it is Man U. You are running with Andre Onana in goal. I'm sorry. Um, and we're gonna switch some things around here. I'm going to take Man U. We're gonna drop them down to 9th. We're gonna bump Newcastle up into Conference League, and actually bump Forest up into, or no, Forest Fulham up into 8th. Um, why do I think this? I don't know. I just think that United are not that good. I think that they have a lot of issues that they're not trying to sort out. Um, I think Sheshko could be good for them, but we've witnessed them blow big money on young strikers. I know Sheshko is probably more proven than Rasmus Højlund and Joshua Zirkzee. But again, they've blown big money on strikers that have not produced for them. So I'm just worried about Man U. Into sixth place, I am taking Thomas Frank and Tottenham Hotspur. Um, I think Tottenham have made very good moves. Mohamed Kudus is a dog. They lost out on Morgan Gibbs White. That's not really their fault. That is the craziness that is Nottingham Forest. But bringing in Joao Palhinha on loan, Kevin Danso, Matthias Tell on now a permanent deal from um Bayern, as is Kevin Danso from Lens. Um, and obviously you're losing, that massive experience that is Son. Um, which it will be weird to see a season without Son on Tottenham. Right as they get back into Champions League, it's really sad to see. But Vicario is a beast. And even Kinski, his backup, he was incredible. When we played them in Carabao Cup, um, their back line, I think, really started to show its flaws last season. But then again, that was with Ange, and Thomas Frank is bringing in a completely new regime. Um, and quite frankly, Tottenham have been Tottenham have been Tottenham, which I think is the most Tottenham thing. Um, they struggled early on. Beat Arsenal, tied Newcastle, got obliterated by Bayern and Harry Kane. And then, really their first actual game of the season against PSG, blowing that 2-0 lead in the last 5-10 minutes, then losing on penalties. But still to end up tying the best team in the world, um, that is a feat in itself. Um, which is why I'm a lot higher on Tottenham than I really was going into this. Um, in fifth, ending the Europa League spots, I'm taking Aston Villa. Um, the Villains were actually very good last season. They did finish sixth, which again for Villa, that is really like their spot at this point. Um, it's what, year three under Unai Emery? Oh no, this is, I think, year three. Should be year three under Unai Emery. Um, and you know, it is year four under Unai Emery, and I don't know. I think this team just grows every single year. Um, and it'll be interesting when they get into that position of, we need to make moves, we need to let people leave. I know that they've been in really bad financial spots recently. Um, but I don't know. I think that they're gonna continue to hover. They were very good in Champions League last season, and now I think in Europa League this year, um, I think they're gonna finish in fifth place. At number four, beginning our top four, our Champions League positions. Really, fifth place is that last Champions League spot, but who cares? Um, Finishing fourth, I am taking Pep Guardiola and Manchester City. Um, we are entering the final years of Pep at Man City. He has said that once he's done, once his contract's up, he's done. He's leaving. Um, they finished third last year. And I think statistically, statistically points wise, the worst year under Pep Guardiola. Um, and they have not been messing around. Brought in James Trafford, brought in Tierney Reinders, Ryan Cherokee, Ryan Aiton. Like, they have not been messing around in the transfer department. Um, and I think they're definitely going to be a very solid team. And I mean, it's City. They're in talks with Gianluigi Donnarumma, who's basically looking like he's forced out of PSG at this point. Ederson looks to be leaving for who even knows at this point. Um, but I don't know. I like what City has going on. just not more than the teams that I'm picking above them as we head into number 3, Chelsea. It is. I am very excited to see what Chelsea can do this season. Honestly, Joao Pedro has been phenomenal for them. Like, to be honest, he has been so good for them. And people want to talk about Chelsea like they are some awful. They really underperformed last season. They finished 4th. Chelsea went 4th last season. Brought in Liam Delap, and then 2 days later, it was like a month later, but brought in Joao Pedro, Jamie Bino Gittens, Jorel Hato. Like, they have been serious. I think really, if they could lock up that goalkeeper spot, they could genuinely be serious title contenders. But I think as the season wears on, those Robert Sanchez mistakes are going to pile up. And it's really going to be costly for them. But yeah, I think Chelsea are going to go 3rd, which leaves us with our top 2 from last season, which we can do at the same time. Liverpool, I am pulling to go back to back, and Arsenal with what's like a 3-4-peat at this point of second place. Yes, it would be a 4-peat of second place finishes. I really think, again, I think this top 4 could genuinely be anybody finishing first. I think it is. After the Community Shield, after the Club World Cup, after everything is completely wide open. We'll start with Arsenal. Again, phenomenal transfer window for them so far. Zubamendi and Christian Norgard. Norgard was very good for Brentford. Zubamendi obviously was instrumental for Real Sociedad over the past few years. They are continuing this weird trend, which people have been saying, of signing random Chelsea players, Noni Madueke and Kepa both coming in. But obviously the main man up top, Victor Gyökeres, I think he could be very good for them if they figure out how to use him right. And I think that's the thing, figuring out how to use him. If they can unlock Gyökeres, they could finally end that drought. But which leads us into the first place team. The team that I cheer for, Liverpool. I am taking them to win the league again. And maybe we're shooting ourselves in the foot. Hugo Ekitike, Milos Kerkez, Florian Wirtz, Jeremy Frimpong. Like, we have been big. We have now signed. I cannot remember his first name, but Leone from Parma, Giovanni Leone from Parma. Who we just brought in. In talks with Morgan Gehi, Alexander Isak potentially coming in. It is going to be a completely new Liverpool team. And I think we're making a strong charge to finish first again. But again, I think it's anybody's game. I think it is completely open doors. I would love to hear what you all think. Where do you agree with me? Where do you disagree? How big of an idiot am I? How much is this gonna come to bite me in 10 months' time? We're gonna figure out then. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. And please, if you liked this video, if you like any more of our content, we have episodes that come out on Spotify, from the gridiron to the pitch on Spotify, from the gridiron to the pitch also on Twitch. We have a TikTok, a Twitter. Those are all run by my counterpart Wesley. But yeah, if you enjoyed anything today, leave a like, subscribe if you want. Drop us a follow on Twitch, on Spotify. Episodes every Thursday. We have YouTube series, which every Friday, where me and Wesley both are trying to take Delaware State and Missouri State. It's not Delaware State, just Delaware. Delaware and Missouri State to win a college football national championship. So if you're like us and you love football as well, please go check it out, and see you next time. Thank you.